Man, the mix wasn't work. Oh, that's loud. All right, guys. That should be a little better. That should be. Why is that going crazy? That should not be that loud. Okay. All right, we're already starting with scuff. How is that, guys? How is that? God, that whiskey's good. The levels say it's about where it should be now. So I'm gonna... Hey, Sylph, what's up? Anyway, thanks for the sub, waifu. Hey, Saru, thanks for the glizzies. Welcome in, everybody. Kaviri, Kiris, my sister, who I sometimes can remember is called Sylph. Waifu. Best mod's not here, though. Ah. Oh, fishing's down. Jesus. Would now be a good time to explain to you guys that I'm all over the place right now. I've actually been preparing a lot, but then I forgot the basics. So, we're gonna put the fishing on. We're gonna put the fishing on. Riot! Come on. Load up. Usually doesn't take me this long to get lurk bait up. Yeah, click that off. There we go. There we go. I think you are streaming. So apparently, if you close Elgato wavelink, it just resets a whole bunch of fucking settings. So, word to the wise. Also, Saru, I did run ads. It was actually saying welcome your community back. Oh, dog park, nice. Oh, you fucked up category? Yeah, I was gonna ask you earlier because you came into chat earlier before I fucked everything up. What did your mod do? What did your mod do, Kaviri? It's a dog park. That commercial lives in my head rent-free. Also, I'm gonna... This should auto-hide. Turn auto-hide on. There we go. That's much better. That should auto-hide when it's not active. Oh boy, parrotfish. Oh, it's a marlin. Okay. Let's try to recover this. I actually wrote down notes. Anyway. Yeah, join Yume on VOD crew. Thanks for dropping by. So, you had a category and title set on Stream Deck, but you can't get a go live notification change on it, so I went to OBS update and then go, oh, that just sounds all... That sounds... Well, I'm locked in because I'm so discombobulated. I'm actually like, they're canceling each other out. Then change the title through Stream Deck. Your mod did that? This sounds like a story about stuff you did. Was my sound turbo loud during Nero's stream? Might have been. Oh no. I was peeking. the mod just sat there and did not change the category nor say. Well, good. So it's more like what the mod didn't do. I was Mike the TV for a day. Okay, guys. So, what we got cooking today is basically some brainstorming, some commentary. The things I say today, I will believe to be true, but I might be working through thoughts live. So I want you to take everything I say today with a grain of RM salt. Free for just 3 easy payments of $99.99. I love doing that so much. Mike the TV is great. Also, it seems I am as distracted today as any other day. I'm glad I took the notes. That's the only thing that's going to keep us on track today. We might be watching some USCSB videos at the end if we run out of things to talk about. You always take everything I say with a huge grain of salt anyway. Is that a Pavlovian response? I mean, that seems like that's entirely my fault based on our past interactions. Oh, yeah. Sylph, do you know who Kyrus is? Kyrus, do you know who Sylph is? I think you've kind of virtually met in my chat before, but maybe not. No? Oh, Kyrus. Sylph is my sister. Kyrus used to play Neverwinter Nights with me, so she has all the dirt. All the dirt on me. If you need dirty secrets on me, that's your person. I guess I just told everybody else in chat that, but, you know, who Kyrus is willing to talk to is up to Kyrus. Oh, the stream together Saturday. Cool. Yeah, I thought I saw your name pop up there. What was my favorite RP archetype? Oh, we can get into that. It will not surprise you in the least, Lirio. I genuinely don't want your dirty secrets that might scar me. Fair. And likewise. They're just things you are meant not to know. Have I told the story about when I learned the bratty tamer? Our regular secrets are apparently shocking enough, right? Right? We just, what was it that Nero said? Tremendously broken people. I got a kick out of that. Don't die out there. Waifu's coughing up a storm. Oh, speaking of waifu, she got this for me today. She noticed I was lacking highball glasses, so she got me one with bees. And I'm enjoying it. I need to watch the second half of that interview on VOD. Yeah. Yeah, you do, because the second half is where everything happens. Like, and we talk about the bucket. That's where the bucket happens, is in the second half. My cohort. It's not even mine. Technically, I was in Kip's cohort. Funny enough. He's the one that got me into PWs and all that shit. Oh, yeah. But, Sneaky doesn't quite cover it. Because most people, when they go sneaky, make charisma their dump stat. And while I might have dump statted that on my character sheet, I didn't play like it. Curse you, Sylph, for pausing the bucket story. I love the bucket story. I love the reactions to the bucket story at this point. It's the best thing. It's the best thing. Yeah, I've been having fun this week. Um, Unironically, like work has been a steady stream of work that's not overwhelming. The week before that, it was overwhelming. So I'm like, I'm catching up. I love how you were able to convince Nero to pause the bucket question, even though you were alive and present for the bucket. You know, speaking of having charisma as your main stat, just saying. I want to turn that up just a little because it's going to be cozy. We might watch some USB CSB videos if I run out of things to talk about, because USCSB videos are great. I love those. And I'm pretty sure I started saying that, but I'm pretty sure I also didn't finish. So there. I love that when I'm looking at OBS Studio, 7 TV doesn't work, so I get to see waifu type out gnome vomit in the chat. And I know what that looks like, but that's funny. Also, if you are seeing the words gnome vomit, 7 TV does not work. You might want to get 7 TV. You are going to realize how much different the chats were than what you thought they were if you install that extension. I'm just saying. Big quality of life stuff. So, I'm looking over at my stream manager. Welcome to my world, bitches! That's right, you're on mobile all the time, aren't you? And it looks like waifu noticed that there was no gnome vomit and added it just so she could use it. Mod abuse! Where's my bell? I need to go Xeno on this. I need to ring my bell, dink donk. Man, imagine if chatters could just, like, add any emote to the channel emotes anytime they needed one. God, mods. As Curious can tell you, I have always had a pleasant relationship with internet moderators. It's never been adversarial one time. Let's see. I love that reaction. Alright, so to get into it, there's people that play WoW without Twitch emotes. Imagine. Add-ons, so as far as they know, I just speak gibberish. Fair enough. I didn't know there was a Twitch emote WoW add-on. So is that like in Baron's chat or something? You'll see Twitch emotes? See, I was going to say something and I got distracted by chat, which is fine, because we're on Twitch and I'm supposed to talk to my chat. So there we go. In any chat. Oh, well, yeah, that's kind of what I meant, but like, any chat is also Baron's chat, let's be real. Or is Baron's not the place anymore? Where is the place right now? Where is it hip hop happening? You can in-game mail people Twitch emotes. You wouldn't download a car. I would download a car. There's a sect of people that pretend they're too cool for it. Are they my age? Bet Baron's chat was wild last week when Chuck died? Oh god, you're right. You're right, that would have been wild. I was going to rephrase it, but you said it best. That was probably wild. We are in TBC for the third time. So Baron's chat was just Baron's chat, but Baron's chat is nothing compared to OG Baron's chat, and people think Baron's chat is the same. It's cute. That was possibly one of the most autistic statements I've ever read. Congratulations. I think we're related. RM, does buying vehicles in FF14 count as downloading cars? Maybe. Your feet still don't reach the pedals. Yeah, I did buy them. That doesn't mean I get to drive them. That was almost on a level of boat girl aside. I love boat women. You know, with the advancements in 3D printing, we are probably close to downloading cars. I mean, true, we're already downloading guns, so why not? Get on it. Get on it, Ghost Gunners. How are you going to print a 50mm Barrett? Or, what's the automatic version? You know the one, the 50 cal machine gun that all the Humvees have, if you can't also 3D print the Humvee. I hear those 3D printed houses have a lot of structural issues, though, but yes, you're technically correct. You can do that. Let's see. We jamming. Are the jams high enough? Are they too high? Because I'm tempted to turn them up. I'm tempted to turn them up a little. Good. Good. Yeah, I'm gonna be... It's gonna be hard to keep me on topic today. Like, more than normal. Even though I've taken, like, a higher dose of my meds. So, the reason for that... Note number one I've been getting to forever... is, as of 5 o'clock today, I have started a 1-week vacation. And I am ready to get to it. I have a Rue wave in WoW, but not an actual Twitch. Sag. That's tragic. So what do you think RM's going to do over his 1-week vacation? Oh, you know what? Poll time. It's poll time. It's been so long since I've done a poll. I've got to do it now. There we go. Poll time. You can go to a gym, cut your hair. I'm not going to start a gym habit over a vacation, because as soon as the vacation is over, the gym habit's over. I would have to start it at a reasonable time to have the gym habit. So I would have to, it's like, I'm not dismissing it out of hand, but like, I would have to do it at like 7 p.m. at the earliest, pre-quitting. 7 p.m. roughly every day. And that's provided that 7 p.m. is even late enough. It might be 8 p.m. It might be 8 p.m. Because sometimes waifu is closing and then I have to do all of the dinner stuff. And that can take until 6:30, 7 o'clock on its own. So what are you going to work on? We know it's work anyway. Well, I've got 2 votes that say it's not work anyway. I wonder who voted for his wife. It's a mystery. Curious right now, getting caught up on FF14 seems like it would be a simultaneous vote for work anyway and stare at the ceiling. The last option could not count. You don't need vacation for it. I'm going to hold my tongue on that one. Oh, it's going to be a tie. It's going to be a tie. I know I keep touching my beard. Work anyway, and his wife. It's work anyway. It's work anyway. Work his wife. Work his anyway wife. Work anyway his wife. Work his anyway wife. How do we read that? There's a few ways to work to read that. Work anyway his wife. He's gonna teach her to read the map in Helldiver 2? That might as well be staring at the ceiling. We both know that's not happening. And it would be just as fruitful. Anyway, I'll see who actually called it at the end of my vacation, because you never know. I could just end up staring at the ceiling the whole time. I feel like that was a request. It might be. Okay, so one of the things I want to do is do stuff for the channel. I want to get more seagull footage at the beach. Which for me is relaxing. For me, that's relaxing. So the seagulls are in their mating plumage now. So the pictures that you see normally, such as and this one, and those are the mating plumage. They look kind of weird and spotty, like polka dotted when they don't have that. They've also started showing up in parking lots everywhere. So there's that. They were laughing at waifu just the other day. Or was it that the other week? Why are there so many seagulls in that parking lot of that Wind Dick Me? Like forever and always. Why are they there? That's their store. Yeah, since the beginning of time. That's their store. It belongs to them. They're requesting payment. I've had a few seagulls greet me in the parking lot after work for a few days. Yep. How do I explain this? Because they're bankrupt now. They still have, like, a store here and there, but technically they went through Chapter 11 and closed basically everything. So I am childless and out of the loop. Are the spring breakers here yet? Oh my god, yes. They're all over campus too. Jesus Christ. I would not want to be a single employee right now. Holy fuck. Aldi's is taking over all of them. What do you mean, ew? Like, they are sunning themselves on every green-covered surface on campus right now. It is a sight. I was talking to Direct Report about that, actually, because this year I felt like it was a lot worse than years prior, and she's like, oh yeah, there's like at least twice as many. There's at least twice as many, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad I'm not going crazy. And it's like, no, RM, you're not getting more horny. There are literally twice as many asses hanging out on the greens. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Not look? On that note, waifu, I was about to say, you should, like, I'd look? You should. You should show up about 11:30s when they get started, maybe to 12. Just wait till the COVID babies turn 18. There will not be any sunning at all. There will not be any sunning at all from the COVID babies. Yeah, like 11:30, noon. Just show up. I will point out on a map where you need to go, and you can get as much of an eyeful as you can handle. Literally set up a lawn chair with obnoxiously large binoculars. Because they live there. Oh, that was part of the ethics thing I wanted to talk about today. Let me write that down. Because, like, one of the things I wanted to talk about today was ethics in, personal investigators, like PIs. So yeah, that's on topic. We share the, sibling brain cell. But yeah, you don't need the binoculars. They literally are like inches from the sidewalk. And there's a fountain. There's a big fountain where they're encouraged to swim. None of them are swimming. Maybe one or two every other day. And they're not swimming, they're just like kicking their feet or whatever. But like, there's literally a fountain right there. It's like 92 degrees out. 100% humidity. And they're all laying around the fountain, getting sun, not touching the water at all. But my binoculars make it visually extra weird. You're right. It does. I actually avoid walking around campus with my camera this time of year. That's something I do closer to, like, fall, winter, that sort of stuff. Because it just looks weird in context. Oh, wow, that guy's walking around with a 200mm lens. It's gigantic. Why is he here? Which is funny to me because of, like, meta glasses and cell phones. It's like, my camera's actually the most honest camera out here. People doing creep shots, they're not using a lens like mine. They're using their phones. Or their meta glasses. But who's gonna get the looks? It's me. It's the guy with the big old camera. That's a security thing in and of itself. It's like, you gotta recognize the real threat instead of the thing that looks like one. You gotta recognize the real threat instead of the thing that looks like one. Because in that situation, I look like the threat, but it's actually everybody else. Though, that's more of a freshman thought. Like, by the time you get to junior or senior, you've seen a lot on campus. In that situation, those spring break girls think you're with a magazine they wanted. Nope. Chuck Testa. That is not at all. That's not how that works. What's a magazine anyway? It's all Instagram now. It's all like personal marketing. Like that Girls Gone Wild creep? Yeah, exactly like him. Exactly like him. Yeah, you are old. God. A magazine, imagine, right? Welcome to old. But yeah, he was a creep. But also, a lot of that footage was consensual. And not only was it consensual, a lot of that footage, they threw themselves at him. That's the thing. They were more than willing, most of them. I feel like culture's changed on that a lot. Like a whole lot. Like, I don't know if you've seen it, but there was a guy who went to, I think it was like Panama City Beach. It might have been Destin. It was somewhere in that area. And instead of, like, asking the things and getting the shots of spring breakers we would associate with the 90s, or MTV, or anything like that, with Jerry Springer, he was asking them fucking political questions. That is the most Zoomer thing I have ever fucking seen. Like, as a society, we are incredibly sexually repressed right now, which is kind of funny to me because like there's like this perception that we've gone the other way. But actually it's because everything from Mind Time is literally fucking censored. Like it's all censored. Like even white, like I keep telling her, our 3-year age gap is a very important 3 years. She thought that "Let's Get It Started in Here" was the original lyrics to that song and not the censored lyrics. She legitimately thought that. I'm only 3 years older than her. And that just blew my fucking mind. I know, waifu. I know, you explained that to me. You explained that to me. That's not the point. That is completely beside the point. I have watched in real time, like, the deliberate, let's censor as little of these titties as we possibly can during daytime television go to, oh wow, Janet Jackson accidentally on purpose flashed her one boob at the Super Bowl. The scandal. The Discovery Channel song, yeah. It's not the amount of age gap, it's the win of the age gap. I've had to explain that to people. Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's not how many years, it's what happened during those years. Kids these days don't know who Jessica Rabbit is. The ones on Twitter do, but like mostly, yeah, you're right. You're right. Sylph, I don't know if you experienced this. I experienced this because, like, you probably wouldn't have been in a lot of guys' rooms at the time, like their bedrooms. But when I was growing up, it was not only normal, it wasn't allowed in my house, but not only was it normal, it was kind of expected of, like, young boys to have, like, posters of half-naked women in their bedroom just up. And I've told that on this stream a few times, but it's like, it's illustrative of where we're at. Like, it was just normal. To the point of expected. That a little, like, prepubescent / newly pubescent boy would have half-naked women plastered all over his wall. But, like, if you see that in anime women, it's like, look at that weirdo weeb gooner. They even had the posters up in Malcolm in the Middle. Yeah. Trish statues, let's go. Yeah. Yeah, all of that. Now, the weebs do that because that's, like, the last culture where that's allowed. Poster above the bed in Christmas Vacation. Yeah. Yeah. Imagine actually finding your dad's dirty magazines. Like, they won't be magazines now. But that's unthinkable these days. When I would go to, like, other kids' sleepovers, we would deliberately hunt for the host's dad's porn stash. And almost all of them had one. Almost all of them. Sylph, she's learning things about me. Well, she's learning things about boys, actually. Maybe it's time to teach the audience things about men. Or boys. She had to know that much, right? Right? No. No. Dude, people in middle school legitimately thought I was gay. Like, I was harassed and tortured over it. They legitimately thought I was gay. Sylph, I view my older brother in a certain way. Yeah, yeah, waifu. Get out of your hentai novels. Even me and my girlfriends went to look for You have had like one of the weirdest upbringings I have ever heard of. I have never heard of girls doing that. Never, not once. Looking back at TV shows we grew up with that took place in high school is wild with what was common on TV. Yeah, remember all the teen pregnant episodes of all of the sitcoms we used to watch on like TGII Friday and stuff? Like they all had one. They all had a teen pregnant episode. I'm pretty sure it was required by the FCC at some point. Like that's how common it was. Yeah, that was not my MO. I was just trying not to be horrified of not finishing the Shadow Temple. Yeah, basically. Basically. But, like, that's also, you know, and the teacher-student relationship, that's still a thing. That's still a thing. I have kids in school, so unfortunately I get front row seats to that's still a thing. You know, Predator's gonna Predator in any decade. Which is also an important point of comparison. Like, the Predators are still doing what they're doing. So, why does nobody else get to? Like, you notice how the Predator behaviors don't change, but, like, it's not... Yeah, exactly, but it's not in the shows anymore. Oh, that's what you mean. Like, the Teacher Predator episodes of television shows. Yeah, okay. Okay, we're on the same page now. Yeah, those don't exist anymore. Those don't exist anymore. I remember they teased the pregnancy episode of Blossom for like a whole month. A whole month. And they were like, hey, parents, watch this one with your kids. Like, what the fuck? Every time I take a swig, the autofocus goes nuts. The autofocus goes nuts. But yeah, like, that's what boys did when we went on the JROTC like end of the year field trip and we were in a hotel. What was the first thing we checked? Oh, does this have HBO? Does this have HBO? Because they show titties on HBO, or they did back then. Is that even still a thing? Like outside of like Game of Thrones and shit. So glad I lived in the bubble. I never refused to leave. Shit, even going back and watching the original. I mean, it wasn't a girl thing, Sylph. Like, that's perfectly normal. That's perfectly normal. That was not the girl thing. Shit, even going back and watching the original Sailor Moon gives me the ick with Usagi Serena in middle school. Yeah, they were just, like, literal middle schoolers. Literal middle schoolers, and then like Darren is in college. Yeah, that's normal. Honestly, in anime, that's still a normal thing. They try to have the ages a little closer these days, actually, come to think of it. Neat goes back to reorganizing the sphere grid day in and day out. I might be a little responsible for your autism, not gonna lie. But yeah, so like it was normal for boys to do that in my day. It was normal. And Crystal, he's like a high school freshman. For a second, I thought you were talking about Pokemon Crystal, because like that was a new game when I was a boy. Crystal was goated. It had the worst box legendary, but it was goated. I got ripped off. All right, so see what people don't tell you. What people don't tell you about those old box legendaries. Sylph knows. So if you got silver, you could get Ho-Oh, but it wouldn't know Sacred Fire. If you got gold, you could get Lugia, but it would not know Aeroblast, and there was no way to teach it either. If you got Crystal, neither your Lugia or Ho-Oh got their signature moves. Neither of them. You just got a fucking Suicune. God, I was mad when I figured that out. I was so pissed. Sacred Fire is such a good move. Aeroblast is such a good move. What do I get? The same Calm Coon, Suicune that everyone else gets. Oh, look. My Suicune can spam Calm Mind like the rest of them can. Hooray! I don't even get snow to make my blizzards 100% accurate. Or whatever. Not that Calm Coon wasn't an absolute menace, because it was, but like... No Aeroblast? Ouch. No Sacred Fire? Double ouch. There was a reason my sister constantly ran Lugia on Pokemon Stadium, and I literally never did. Literally never did. Aeroblast allowed Lugia to beat Lance's Tyranitar in Stadium 2. Yeah, for two reasons. One is because Tyranitar is actually a special wall. Like, he's a special wall. And it was before the physical special split. So Aeroblast is a physical move at the time. Two, high crit ratio. Really high crit ratio. I'm amused that we went from Sailor Moon Crystal topic to Pokemon when Crystal was mentioned. Literally generational trauma. So Nero thinks Crystal's like the bee's knees and that it's better than the other versions, and he's objectively wrong. That's what I'm explaining. I'm explaining how he's objectively wrong. You do not even get the guaranteed dog that you get, is literally the worst one to get guaranteed because it's the only dog that does not know Roar in the wild encounters. Which back then was a bug. Hey, Inac! Thanks for streaking in chat. Best Pokemon Extra was Platinum? Yeah, and Platinum was so good compared to Diamond and Pearl that it determines who liked Diamond and, like, Gen 4. Because if you were playing at the half speed of Diamond and Pearl, that was not your favorite gen, even if it's the one you grew up with. Because the game was, the gameplay was so fucking slow on DP. Every person I know who's like, Gen 4, the best gen! It's like, was your primary copy a copy of Platinum? That answer is always yes. 100%. Every time. Every time. So, there's that. Yep. RM was right again. I need a counter for that. I need an RM was right counter for my stream. I'm going to write that down. Because one of the things I need to do over this week is improve my stream. Because I really don't have time to do that while I'm working. There's some CEPs, or there's some CPEs I also have to report. I need to get on top of that. Because I'm getting close to the point where I might be good on my 120. And that's another reason we're not immediately launching into the security stuff, is because I no longer have to. We will get there. Because it's something I enjoy talking about, and I'm not like suddenly changing my branding because I have CPEs. It's just less in the front of my mind. But like, I'm gonna go get seagull pictures at the beach, pictures and footage for like all my bumpers and cards and stuff. It would be really cool if I could get like a seagull flying through the air as a stinger. That would be awesome. I want to see if I can't get a war driving project started and kind of like war drive around town and see what I can find. Then there's also I think I might want to see how streaming on location works, because I could totally do a beach stream. I could totally do a beach stream. So I'm going to test my gear out there, and if it works, real well, y'all are getting a beach stream. There's creators I need to reach out to. There's some collabs I want to do with other VTubers. On that note, I need to DM you about that, Kiris. I need to DM you about that. So remind me after stream, because I won't remember. Even though I'm writing it down right now. I'm writing it down right now. I will somehow still forget. Let's see. On the vacation theme, I want to go over practical bug sweeping. That's something I want to go over tonight, because that's an important topic for having like an Airbnb or owning an Airbnb, because of how certain attacks can work. Because there are things you are not allowed. There are things you are not allowed to have in your Airbnbs or your Verbos or whatever. Like, these are statute things, not business things. And if somebody like visits your B&B or your Verbo or whatever, if they visit your glorified share economy timeshare, and they drop one of these devices on premises and you fail to detect it, and then the next person that comes in finds the device, you're in trouble. So you need to know how to bug sweep your property. And I can't imagine the number of cameras in properties is going down over the spring break time of year. Those of us in coastal areas, we know. Let's see. But yeah, all that said, I'm going to be taking my time getting to those topics. I'll talk about them when I want to. And then we can chill out and watch some USCSB videos. It's going to be great. But right now, chat's being interesting, and I'm going to ride that wave as long as I can. I'm going to be a lurker soon. I have PvP things I'm doing. Are you suggesting that you have to pay attention to PvP? More attention than you're paying to the tank? Yeah, soon, TM. That's another thing about the NWN. I was always looking for chances to PvP. Always. I used to be a PvP goblin. Well, PvE I can do blindfolded after 20 years. Yep, I would fucking hope so anyway. Yeah. You're right. 20 years is a long time to be doing anything. This is really good whiskey. It's good sipping whiskey. Somebody needs to come over and help me drink it, though, because I can sort of detect even though I've been keeping it in like the cardboard so it blocks all the light. It wasn't just that I was a PvP goblin in PvE focused games, because be real, I wasn't the only one. I was far from the only one. But the peatiness of this is starting to diminish, even though it's been well stored. 3 months? 3 months of what? The peatiness is starting to go away. So, like, that's an issue, because, like, how peaty this is an important part of, Oh, is that only 3 months? Oh, yes, because of that specific one, yeah. Dude, I can buy another bottle. That reminds me. I gotta talk to the family about financial contributions to the everything. But yeah, I am really in the vacation mood. I'm in the vacation mood. Y'all want to start reacting to slop? There's some good Twitter slop today. There's some good Twitter slop today. The first item on the agenda is that waifu has been doxxed. So we're going to check that out. Yeah, you've been doxxed. Check it. There you go. Heh. Oh, the heh from Mirio. So, what's the next one? This one's great. This one's great for just absolutely how unhinged it is. So this is the account from something called Uwu Underground. I don't know what it is they actually do. But the thing on the right telling them like their bio seems pretty sus. Grifters and snake oil in InfoSec. Okay, singing about APTs, grifters, and grifters is something we're going to talk about because, dear Cloudflare, our field team got kicked out of your party for handing out drink protection kits. What's the chances that's not narrative control, chat? What's the chances that's not just blatant narrative control? Moving on. By a director of sales. Explain. Alright, so they're demanding Cloudflare, the company, do something. Oh, okay. Oh, hey, it's my best mod. Welcome in, Plaws. What's up? Good to see you here. Did you see that waifu got doxxed? Did you see that part? Anyway, explain slowly what part of don't get drugged conflicts with your brand and beliefs. Go ahead, we'll wait. No, where? Right here. Fucking caught. I'm gonna have to move. I'm gonna have to, like, change where I live. People posting my wife on the internet. Damn, that's I know, man. I know. I swear to God, if we don't get an answer, by the way, Cloudflare, we are not going to be friends. Oh, no! You're not going to be friends with Uwu Underground. Neko Arc is also my wife. Well, I guess we're sharing, buddy. You ever roast a pig? Because I've got the spit. We also reached out to their official account just in case they claim they didn't see this. They still didn't see this. Does this seem like the behavior of somebody acting in good faith? I get the advertising angle with the sticker, but at the same time, how is a sticker any different than you walking around handing out a business card and networking with others? I have done that plenty at events in the past and trade shows, so I don't personally see how this should have been an issue after seeing the sticker. Because that's not what they were doing. And this is how you are more than likely blacklisted now. Turn up at events uninvited. They were not invited. Hands out items given the impression Cloudflare have hired them. Cries about it online and tries to spin it that Cloudflare are in the wrong. Oh, to be blacklisted from RSA would be a dream for us, truly. You have no idea. This account is run by a 14-year-old. Like, I don't know that, but that's how they behave. I've seen one being roasted. Yeah. Damn, I hope Cloudflare and every company bans you on site after this. Cringiest fucking thing I've ever seen. Bad enough you did this, but to come online and then cry about it like they did something wrong is even worse. Spoiler, we are up to event 6 or 7 where we are now officially providing drink protection. You weren't officially doing anything. You showed up without coordinating with the staff at all and started handing out branded merch. Just to understand the context, did you inform anyone from the event organizers in advance? Were the drink protectors offered separately or in a bag with logo branding? I think this person knows exactly what happened. Great idea to protect women. But maybe using that fear to push branding is also not cool. No! We have been handing... So the answer is no. They didn't talk to anybody. They didn't talk to a single person. We have been handing them at 6 or 7 different parties earlier. No earlier complaints from other parties or vendors. That doesn't matter. Drink protectors in a bag with the sticker. We would happily remove the sticker if anyone asked. That's not how this works. There was also... There were... This is a were. There was also other vendor stickers and other branding on public tables for people to take. Yeah, and they probably knew about the tables. That was probably a thing. Yeah, this is our first year. This is our first year offering this. We would happily take these with strides for future events. They could have also asked us to stop, remove the branding, or any other happy medium, and we would have definitely complied. How do they know? You weren't even invited. I think the implication that drinks served at a company party needs protectors is damaging to the brand and thus the boot. Nope, wrong. No, that's not. See, you could have pushed back against this, and I would have supported you. But that's not an understandable point. Did you see TwitchCon? If there aren't drink protectors already provided, that is an issue at any company party. No matter how private you think it is. Because, like, most of the roofing or whatever happened at the more quote-unquote exclusive events in TwitchCon. Including the ones that weren't hosted by TwitchCon themselves, but were like, hoity-toity, 500 CCV or higher, you know, like after parties. And that's where people got roofied. These are the bags they came in. Do you think CrowdStrike... Does everybody in chat know who CrowdStrike is? I might be putting the cart before the horse. Does everybody in chat know who CrowdStrike is? Because that's kind of important. No. No, I do not. Oh, okay. So they like the industry player in endpoint device protection? So they sell products that basically you put an agent on your devices and CrowdStrike's cloud constantly monitors them for old, new, and emerging threats. To the point that they have root level access and a bad CrowdStrike update bricked millions of Windows machines. That's how, like, prolific they are. Give me a second. I'm going to transition back to live cam so I can look this up. Without potentially doxing me. 8.5 million machines were bricked by a bad CrowdStrike update. So they've got some market penetration. I am one of those machines for real. Anyway, do you think the overtly sexual branding might have had something to do with it, chat? Do you think the overtly sexual branding might have had something to do with getting kicked out over passing out branded merch without being invited and without authorization. Do you think that might have played a role? Also, one of the things I did with like gossip prevention when I went over that in depth, the first red flag is the framing. Never sex sells. No, actually, CrowdStrike is one of those ultra normie companies that actually does not want to be associated with any of that. We were talking about that earlier about like how sexually repressed society has gotten in the United States over the last, I think it was happening before I was born, so I can't say how many years. But I saw a lot of it happen in real time. Not just that, but handing out anime waifu branded merch at like Cloudflare sounds icky. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Kyrus knows who Cloudflare is. Or I would expect Kyrus to. But yeah, that sort of merch just doesn't belong at a Cloudflare conference. It just strictly doesn't. But like, if you see framing like this, that is a red. That would be like showing up handing out tubs of gamer subs. I'm not necessarily sure it would be like handing out tubs of gamer subs. It would be like handing out the waifu cups, you know? Or the tubs of gamer subs that are like, they've got really explicit art on them, like tubs of Cinder's flavor, or like tubs of Bow's flavor, or any of the waifu cups at all. Like, there's a lot of, I'm not sure how many of their normal flavors they sell, but they technically could bring all of their safe for work flavoring and branding to an event like that. It would still not fit, but it wouldn't be nearly as creepy. But yeah, if they showed up with like the Booba cups and the Booba mouse pads and like the Absolute Territory drinks and all that, that would be creepy. So yeah, I just thought this was interesting because this is, you see this a lot in the VTuber space, this kind of clout chasing, and I thought that was really interesting to see in the context of fucking Cloudflare. Like, this is something I would expect to see of like, oh, this streamer is bad, look at these DMs, this artist scammed me, my model mama has disappeared. That's what this reads like, but like, it's about fucking Cloudflare corporate party. They've been getting away from them with like brand risk being a tub with an anime waifu with huge tits and peaches. Oh, okay, so it's just like, they don't have safe flavors anymore is what you're telling me. Okay, well yeah, they can't show up at the Cloudflare conference anymore. Yep, that's what that means. You just let Monster and Ghost have that market, I guess. Supplement facts. All right, we can close that one. We'll go to the next one. A 50-year-old grandmother was wrongfully jailed for nearly 6 months. Supplement facts. After AI facial recognition software falsely identified her as a suspect in a bank fraud case. Police arrested her at gunpoint. You could say that about most police arrests in the United States. That's a bit of framing. In July 2025, while she was babysitting children at home. If this does not mean that the guns were drawn, this is despicable. Okay? If the guns were drawn, this is accurate. If the guns were not drawn, which I've seen this sentence used a lot in those situations, if the guns were not drawn, this sentence is manipulative and despicable. She spent about 108 days in a Tennessee jail before extradition, totaling close to 6 months across facilities, This marks at least the 9th documented U.S. case of wrongful arrest linked to facial recognition misidentification. If they keep this up, this is going to be about as admissible in court as a polygraph. There were several layers of protection that failed here. Like, you can't go from AI identification straight to arrest and detention. There are steps between those things that you are supposed to have. So, framing aside, the fact that this happened at all is bad. Like, there are protections in place for this that were not followed. 9th documented ever, Sylph. But, like, it hasn't been too many years since the camera systems that allow this to happen have been up. Hold on. When did flock cameras start? 2017. So about 27, like 9 cases since 2017. Let's see actually if I can't find the bigger story here. I want to see an actual article about this. I don't pre-read a lot of this stuff. A case per year, that's a lot. Yeah, it is. Let's just go with The Guardian for now. Let's go with The Guardian for now. They can... Let's see. Let's see. Actually, I'm not sure I want to read this with the ads up. Which I thought I had an ad blocker. This might be Google doing its fuckery thing. Do I have to launch Brave and capture that? Anyway, there's articles about it if you want to read more. Some of these ads are kind of location targeted. Let's see. Oh, yeah, so, there's a person I follow that ratioed me in a hilarious way earlier this week, and I wanted to put that up there. Yeah, that is way too many, INAC. I agree. That's way too many. Whatever the safeguards that are supposed to be in place and I know that they are. I know that they exist. And I know that at least in Florida, like I don't know about Tennessee, but at least in Florida, there is a top-down, like literally the top, the governor and especially the lieutenant governor are very no AI without human in the loop. None, zero. Required to have human in the loop in state institutions that are using AI. So there are, I would hope this is less likely in Florida. We had a conference about that last year, and it was beat into everybody there because it was supposed to be for like state agencies. That this was not optional. Human in the loop is not optional at the state level. So I'm hoping that on this there are more protections here in Florida, but like you're supposed to have human in the loop here. You're supposed to have humans between the process where an AI makes a decision and action happens. And it doesn't sound like that was followed through here. Like I said, if this keeps happening, the people being fast and loose with this are going to get this banned as acceptable evidence in the entire judicial system, kind of like the way polygraphs are. So they're burning faith in their own tools with incidents like this. This should not have happened. But, you know, I'm not a big fan of AI in the first place. I think the benefits are oversold. And particularly for generative AI, the methods used to get the training data were unethical. I won't go into the legal aspects, but unethical. Um, and this just shouldn't have happened. This is actually a great tool if you use it the right way. This is an excellent tool if you use it the right way. So fumbling this bag would be... that would be an issue. Let's close both of those. So there was a... this has been the year of... well, I guess 2025 as well. At the end of 2025, I said this was the year of supply chain attacks, and that I didn't see that stopping in 2026. This is yet another supply chain attack. And what a supply chain attack means in the software context is that somebody took a package that a lot of packages are dependent on, put malware in it, and now everybody who's updating their software is getting the malware. And that's what happened here. Light LLM Python supply chain attack. Pip install Light LLM was enough to exfiltrate SSH keys. That's a big deal. AWS, GCP, Azure credentials. These are all the major cloud services. Kubernetes configs, Git credentials, environmental variables. Let me in chat, let me know if any of these terms are over your head. I'm here to explain these things. Shell history, crypto wallets, SSL private keys, CI/CD secrets, database passwords. Light LLM itself has 97 million downloads per month, which is already terrible, but much worse, the contagion spreads to any project that depends on Light LLM. For example, if you did pip install DSPY, or DSPy, which depends on Light LLM, you would also be owned. Same for any other large project that depended on Light LLM. So, as far as I can tell, the poisoned version was up for only less than an hour. The attack had a... and the reason this is detected so quickly is because of security solutions like CrowdStrike. I'm not saying CrowdStrike detected it and that's why it was caught so fast, but security solutions that are similar to CrowdStrike are why this was detected in under an hour. And then, not just detected, but remedied in under an hour. The attack had a bug which led to its discovery. Callum McMahon was using an MCP plugin inside Cursor that pulled in Light LLM as a transitive dependency. Their machine ran out of RAM and crashed. So if the attacker didn't vibe code this attack, it could have been undetected for many days or weeks. Oh, that's neat. Supply chain attacks like this are basically the scariest thing imaginable. I don't know about that, but it's up there. Apparently NASA was using this package. NASA was using this package. Who's blowing up my DMs? Oh yeah, we're getting good stuff here. We're getting good stuff here. So every time you install Indie... so the way coding works these days, for those of you who don't know, you don't take a pile of devs and then write a program. What happens is, when the devs that you have hired want to write a program, they go out and they see which libraries already do that job or do components of those jobs, and they include them in their project as is. And that's what this is. Light LLM is one of those, this already does a portion of the code I'm being asked to write, so I'm just going to include it in my project and then write code on top of it, which is what including is. And modern software has so many includes in it that code review is basically not being done for all intents and purposes. Attackers have caught on to this And starting in about 2025, this sort of attack started becoming really, really popular, and it has remained really, really popular. And I think it's only going to get more popular because this is how constant iteration, constant deployment works. It's like most software in the CI/CD cycle are just piles of include and very little proprietary code. And now you're getting problems where even the proprietary code is vibe coded, and the vibe coded code is using includes that you don't know about, you potentially don't know about. So supply chain attacks are getting more and more attractive all the time. And this is the latest example of that. 97 million downloads per month does not mean 97 million devices. It could be significantly less than that. It could be significantly more than that. I lean towards significantly less than that because this also includes updates to the package. So if the package has like a regular update history, this could be half, a quarter, whatever. We're about to have a lot, Kira says, we're about to have a lot of supply chain issues between this and the Strait of Hormuz blockade. Absolutely. Absolutely. But in software, supply chain has to do with infecting a commonly used included package. Regular supply, like physical supply chain attacks have been a thing for forever. It's why Huawei is banned in the United States. It's why you can't take hardware that has modern encryption algorithms to China. China just steals shit. And anybody who wants to get their panties in a wad about that, well, maybe you should move to China. That is what they do. They are a legitimate security threat at the nation-state actor level. They are actively attacking the United States in cyber warfare constantly, just as sure and as much as DPRK or Russia is. And one of the things they do. Oh god, did you see that where Supermicro's CEO got caught smuggling like 2.4 billion dollars worth of NVIDIA GPUs to China? China's not allowed to import NVIDIA GPUs, by the way. They're sanctioned from, or rather, I think NVIDIA is in the position where they're not allowed to ship to China as a condition of continuing to do business in the United States. It's something like that. But the simple thing is that China's not allowed to have NVIDIA GPUs for their AI farms or for any other reason. But the CEO of Supermicro, a Chinese national, was smuggling $2.4 billion worth of GPUs to China. The Chinese national problem has become a legitimate security risk to the point that the only reason people of Chinese descent and Chinese nationality are not banned from high security roles is the fear of being called a racist. That's literally the only reason right now. Because this is like nation state level bullshit. Let me get something real quick. Let me pull that up. Like what the Chinese do is, and this is a problem at universities as well, is they'll take Chinese nationals, put them in the international student program, get them into PhD programs, and steal all of that data and steal all of that research. And they target things like engineering and other things you associate with common Asian achievement. They specifically target those. And they have gotten so much engineering, so many trade secrets out of that process. Like, literally you're a racist is the only thing, like, that's what's stopping us from doing something about it, essentially. Like, and it sucks because the reason it's racial is because China is a nationalist ethno-state, so you can't really separate the good actors from the bad on that. And that just creates all sorts of issues. Like, we shouldn't be in that position, but we are. We are in that position. This is organized. They send people to the universities, uncles and stuff, that are CCP party members, there to make sure that the spying is actually happening and that they're not defecting and stuff. You know, to remind them that their family's being threatened and shit like that. Let's see. Can I get Department of Justice? 3 charged with conspiring to unlawfully divert cutting-edge U.S. artificial intelligence technology to China. Was this it? I can't pronounce those, and I'm not gonna try. Wally. Is Wally in this one? Yeah, Wally's in this one. So Wally and these two people, Wally, Steven, and Willie, for allegedly conspiring to divert high-performance computer servers assembled in the United States and integrating sophisticated U.S. artificial intelligence technology to China. What that sentence means is actually NVIDIA GPUs. In violation of U.S. export control laws, a U.S. citizen and son, a citizen of Taiwan, were arrested today and will be presented in the Northern District of California. Chang, a citizen of Taiwan, remains a fugitive. The indictment unsealed today details alleged efforts to evade U.S. export laws through false documents, staged dummy servers to mislead inspectors, and convoluted transshipment schemes in order to obfuscate the true destination of restricted AI technology, China. And Assistant Attorney General for National Security, these chips are the product of American ingenuity. That's wrong. It's mostly Taiwan. Like, NVIDIA is an American company, but I wouldn't call it American ingenuity. That's posturing. And NSD will continue to enforce our export control laws to protect that advantage. The FBI's investigation revealed that blah, blah, blah. So this is the boring stuff, but what you need to know is that these loyalties run really deep. Am I saying that the Taiwanese people named here are super loyal to China? No. I'm saying that the CEO is, and the two people implicated here saw dollar signs at the most generous. Do you feel safe yet? I wanted to talk a little bit about some parasocial stuff, because that keeps coming up. People keep using that word incorrectly. Viewers are okay, so the original post is VTubers don't want you to know this, but we can be a little parasocial towards our viewers too sometimes. That's not how that works. Okay? Parasocial, by definition, is one way. The second it becomes bi-directional, it's just social but online. And I thought we solved this years ago. Is anybody here old enough to remember when online dating didn't count? When arranging for a date online literally made the entire relationship invalid? Yeah. Hasn't that supposedly been put to bed? It's pretty normal now to have online friends that are like actual friends. We don't call our online friends our parasocial friends. It's because that's a two-way relationship. Like, we figured this out as a society. That's a two-way relationship. And even if we hadn't figured that out as a society, parasocial is a term from a 1960s paper that is talking about watching Bob Barker on The Price is Right and feeling like you have a special connection to him, even though it's not possible for him to have talked to you or acknowledge you or know that you exist at all. That's not what this is. This is they know who you are, and they watch your show, and maybe that means that they don't know you exist. But if you talk to them back, yes, my mom was parasocial with Bob Barker. If you talk to them back, the best case scenario is that you're just lying to them and being an unethical bastard. It's not parasocial the moment you engage with them. The moment you engage with them. And if you can remember their name and facts about them, that is very social. You are friends. Roughly. At the very least, you're acquaintances. Anyway, the response. Viewers are people too, and that's how I made some very good online friends that are not weird or obsessive freaks. Being a weird or obsessive freak is actually not a requirement of parasocialism. But that's a hair we can split later. And there are also chatters that are always around and seem like cool peeps. I would be sad if something happened to them. If you acknowledge them and they acknowledge you, it's not parasocial. It's regular social. It's just on the internet. Because they are a part of my community. I actually rarely befriend other VTubers creators. I don't watch Twitch as much anymore, and I have bad social anxiety. So I end up just hanging out in my own Discord and becoming friends with those I spend the most time and who passes the vibe check. If you're spending time with them actively, that's not parasocial. Can't really call that parasocial. Thank you. Actually, you can't call that parasocial at all. This type of friendship is made naturally, and I can instantly tell if someone is being parasocial or has hidden motives. Well, you know, if you're socially well adjusted, yes. That is easy to tell. Somebody who is parasocial if they're imagining a relationship that doesn't exist. That's what the parasocial thing is all about. If you're being friendly with them and they're being friendly back and you both like that, that's just social. In fact, the negative version of that is also social. Like, people think social means like fucking cocktail party or something. That's not what it means. We are a social species. It is so normal to you that you don't know why the designator exists. The fact that we interact with each other at all is not a guarantee or take for granted thing in nature with organisms. Where social is special. There's a reason we have a designator for it. And we probably didn't before we started studying other animals in a scientific way. Like, we had to discover that there were animals that were not social. All right, it doesn't mean we had to be at a cocktail party together and that we're friends. It means that we literally interact with each other at all and negotiate our needs at all. At any point. What about married to chat? Would that be roleplay but still social? That can still be parasocial if it is like in a broadcast context. I know the joke you're making, but if that's in a broadcast context where you're not acknowledging anybody by name, yes, that can still be parasocial. That's called farming parasocial feelings, and that may or may not be ethical, but that would be parasocial. Now, if somebody says in response to that, yeah, you're my wife, and you're like, thanks, handle name, I really like that you feel that way. That is immediately a social reaction. The moment that happens, that is a social reaction or interaction. The moment you do that, that ceases to be parasocial by definition. As for the creator space, I'm too afraid to approach new people. There are many who will try to befriend you for their own gain and use you as a pawn or something else. Yes, that's called social engineering. And the reason we call it that is because that is still a social interaction. Things being bad does not make them not social. Parasocial has become a word for social interaction that I do not like. That's what it's becoming. At least in this niche. And that's not what it means. But there are also good people out there too. People that make me open Twitch and actually lurk and talk and perhaps even improve my day. I'm lucky to call them friends. If you call them friends, that is social. Unless you're the one being parasocial and they don't know who you are, which is ludicrous because they're watching your program. I don't need more. I'm happy with what I have, but I will always be happy to meet more people like that in the future without actively seeking for it. Just let nature blah, 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 blah. But yeah, anytime I see something like that, it just re. Seems like they call it parasocial just because you don't know the chatter's real name and they don't know yours. Yeah! Like I said, Zoomers are the worst thing to happen to the internet. Just objectively. Zoomers are the worst thing to happen to the internet. They have forgotten lessons that we learned 30 years ago. And now they're having to relearn them on their own. And they're taking the wrong conclusions. Even though there's literature for them to read about it. You would not know the term parasocial if you didn't know about the literature. That's what's so fucking messed up about it. Trimming your armor for free. Yeah. What's messed up about it is, like, you couldn't have spread parasocial as a term without knowing about the literature. Because that's a scientific term that only exists in the literature. No one says parasocial on the street. So guys, remember how I talk about not clicking dumb shit? Or just not clicking shit in general? So the Department of Justice says that FBI Director Kash Patel's personal email was breached by hackers. Now, I don't know that he clicked something dumb. But it'd be really funny if he did. And he probably did. He probably clicked something stupid. He clicked the thing. Whoa! Yeah, who's surprised? Not me. Not me. Not me. Now, I will say that this story is blowing up in ways that it deserves, but it's creating implications that aren't there. Yes, it is bad that the FBI director's personal email was breached. There's probably sensitive stuff in there that shouldn't be in there, but is anyway. But it's not the FBI official email, which would be much worse. Much worse. Is his personal email getting breached? Nothing personnel, Cash. If his personal email getting breached bad, yes, absolutely. It's like Hegseth inviting that journalist to his super secret war text shade. Yeah! Yeah, it's like that. It's like that. It is like that. But, like, kinda worse, because the emails are email contents are downloadable and searchable later. So this is actually worse. So if this has anything about, if his personal email has, like, he should be fired. Because if there's anything in his email that can be used for personal leverage by the opposing party, if there's any OPSEC in there, if there's really any leverage at all that anybody could apply to him, and like personal email, what are the chances that there aren't things in there that could be used as leverage? Like, he's got to go. I'm sorry, this isn't even you're the head of the FBI, you're not allowed to be hacked sort of thing. This is a, you can now be leveraged, so you can't be FBI director anymore. You've been compromised, like at a personal level. Like he needs to go. We need a new FBI director now. They will know which streamers he subs to. That could actually be bad. Like, I know that's a joke, but that could actually be bad. Like, imagine Kash Patel donated money to Hassan Piker. Imagine that's in his emails, like Twitch contributions to Hassan Piker. Don't you think, See, I said Hassan Piker for the shock value because that's probably like the least likely thing to be in there. But that's kind of the point, like emails to your mistress and that sort of thing. Other things that would damage him with the right wing. Because there's a lot of people in the right wing who are like, he's too Indian. He shouldn't have been director in the first place. He's too much of a racial epithet. There is that opinion in sections of the right. So imagine if somewhere in his personal emails he's like, man, I really prefer white women. Like, imagine that's in there. Like, he can be leveraged by anybody, any politician who knows this stuff now. Whether they're foreign or domestic. Like, this is leverageable, actionable stuff. So he's like gotta go as like a matter of principle, as a matter of just like, he's a compromised asset. Like, just for that alone. This isn't about optics. This isn't about, oh, like, man, if somebody beneath you had their email compromised, they'd have to go. This isn't about, like, quid pro quo or tit for tat anything or optics. This is literally about the FBI director just had all of his personal shit leaked, and that can be a problem. Must not have had taken his annual cyber awareness training like I do as a CGIS officer. Keep in mind, in that context, the officer does not mean I wear a badge. It means that I oversee a CGIS domain. But, like, I have to take annual training to maintain that. That covers this stuff. Kash was the first one to install that White House app. Yeah, you know, this is all memes. This is all memes. Hey, this is what I was talking about. They liken Kash to Indian scammers. Like, this is racial stuff, right? That's what I was talking about. This person's basically saying, well, duh, he's Indian. Of course the Indian's gonna fall for this. Let's see. I don't even click links on people I trust. By the way, good advice. Good advice. The best way to not click the dumb thing is to click nothing. It's only a half joke. Any sub donation good. Yeah. All his emails for 1 year are directed to, replied from, and sent from Short Boss plus Kash Patel. Deformatted down to plain text and no attachments. Damn. Like, this is a joke, but yeah, like, also the furry PFP that really sells this. You know this guy knows what he's doing in tech because he's got a furry PFP generated with AI, it looks like. So there's that. Don't talk to strangers. Don't give your data to strangers. This is cringe, but I think it's funny. Yeah, then more the racial profiling. Click here for Bob's and Vagine. That, or his email was already on a database from a breach. That's still a hack, dude. And that would be even worse, because, like, most email providers will tell you about this now. And if not most, at least the most popular ones, like Google, you can just click a button in Google and it will search all your passwords for, being in known rainbow tables. So that's actually less acceptable than clicking the thing. Wow. Cash is another disappointment, and I hope the Prince of Zamunda gets all his loot and his fucking girl. I'm going to start sending fake phishing emails to employees, and anyone who clicks the link gets fired on the spot. That is already a thing we do. You are behind the times. Tell me you don't employ a significant number of people without telling me you don't employ a significant number of people. That is already industry standard. What are you doing? If this is what motivates you to get on industry standard, I don't think he employs people, just to be real. But we're going to take that as at face value. If this is what gets you on industry standard, fine, but you're behind the curve, buddy. Jean-Luc Kennard. Good thing. Oh yeah, exclamation mark fish. If you want to play the vishing, the vishing. Yeah, if you want to play the vishing game while I rant. But did he redeem? You would have thought it'd be a natural instinct to not click unknown links, but maybe they offered him like, I love how everybody assumes it was he clicked dumb shit. And to be fair, Occam's razor says that he clicked dumb shit. But this is pretty significant, and in my opinion, it is grounds for being fired. You cannot be the FBI director and be personally compromised on that level. That's incompatible. That is not in the national security interest of the United States. Okay. And we did that, and we did that. So I think it might be time for a break and for me to get some water. Because I was talking fast and loud there, and that is making my throat dry. So I'm going to turn the music up. I'm going to go to my Crunchyroll hacked again. Say it isn't so. Exclamation mark fish to play the fishing game. I'm going to see what I catch now that I'm back from break. What am I getting? So, funny story before we get back into it. So you might remember a few streams ago I was telling a story about how I kind of spooked the sock with a nightmare scenario that we might not be prepared for. And I said it would be really bad if this happened over a specific event. Well, as it happens, my break lines up with that specific event. I won't be at work for it. So if something does happen while that event is going on, I am getting a visit from Black Vans. I am absolutely a suspect if something happens. Because, like, the best way to predict an attack is to be the attacker. Like, imagine I tell the sock, hey, you might want to guard against this attack, or, can we guard against this attack? And, oh, don't get spooked. It's just a funny thing. Calm down. I would tell you if you should be worried. That would be a private conversation we would be having. Telling a woman to calm down is notoriously a successful strategy. But no, it would be, I won't say funny. Oh, yes, I will. It would be funny from an irony standpoint if that happened. Because I would be a suspect. I should be a suspect. Hey, Snacks, what's up? Welcome in. Any competent organization would have me as a suspect. All right. Are we ready to talk about bug sweeping? Are we ready to talk about that? I think I'm ready to talk about that. Because I'm not the only one taking vacations this time of year. It's a very popular time of year to be doing it, and I probably should have done this before spring break kicked off, but hey, here we are. RM's doing well. RM has just started a 1-week vacation. So, I do what I want. Let's see, we can close that. It's whiteboard time. Ooh, Diary of Jane. I'm turning that up a little. Let's see. Make sure this is configured for the correct monitor. Monitor 1. There we go. Let's see. Time to pull the drawy thing out of its cave. Okay. There we go. That works. Alright, so we're going to talk about sweeping bugs. And I don't mean like with a broom. For those of you who've ever had a palmetto bug infestation, maybe you've done that. But we're talking about... spy devices. This has become a very common thing to find in hotels. The bucket. I love the bucket. We will always have the bucket, chat. They can take a lot of things from us, but they cannot take the bucket. It's not that gross, waifu. Not if you weren't there. So, places you'll see this. Hotels. Motels. Airbnbs and other share services. Why? Well, in a word, creepy shit. This could be for public distribution of candid and intimate moments. This could be for private viewing of the same. This could be part of a greater intelligence gathering operation by nation states. Like don't discount that. Like if you're going to a very popular rich person spot and they think that other people in, say, the FBI might vacation there, they're going to have people drop bugs. And if they overhear something with a mistress or whatever, they got it. What else? Stalking. And I'd think if you're a private investigator, this also fits into stalking. Like, you've crossed an ethical boundary if you're doing this. Not that a PI would ever cross an ethical boundary. But this can be used to establish persistence of movement. It's more rarely used for that, because if you can plant a bug in somewhere somebody is going ahead of time, you already have persistence of movement. But maybe you want to record something there for some other reason, like maybe the knowing their schedule is step 1 instead of the thing you just wanted to know. But in general, you already have persistence of movement information if you're able to pull that off. The idea of any of our kids ever being splashed with rancid soap water with dead bugs straight through the underwear to the point they are traumatized to wear clothes is horrifying to me. I mean, when you put it that way. I'm sorry, that still doesn't hit. It builds character. Kinda. You can put that on your character sheet. You can put that on your character sheet in GURPS and get bonus points. I think during the spring break time period, this one and this one and these right here become more dominant in the reasons why this would be done. Especially this one, because it has money making opportunities, and a lot of hacking and bad shit is motivated by money making opportunities. So, like, you know, some skeeve is dropping these bugs in popular spring break spots and hoping that they can put that on some monetized platform for illicit materials, whether that's on the public or the dark web. Like, there's a financial incentive here, and this one's just like the, you know, the meme with the guy at the window with the shirt that says sickos. That's this guy. That's Black Friday for them. Enjoy your jork spicy. Welcome in. So that's why it's done. Okay. So how does this affect you? So if you're a property owner, so here's the chain of attack. You don't sweep for bugs because you have no intention of deploying them. You've forgotten that other people might do this, all right? So that's step one. Step two, renter plants bugs. The worst Pokemon type. 3. New renter shows up. And because you don't plant bugs, the worst type in Pokemon, I'm not taking that back. It's objectively, competitively the worst type. Like, it's not even close. I love my bug Pokemon. I like Bug and Steel. Those are my favorites. But Bug is pants. Bug is absolute pants. What? Bug and Steel are cool. I'm not copying you. That's why the best bug type is Bug and Steel. That's why the best bug type is both Bug and Steel. Let's see. So a new renter shows up. This can go a few ways. It can go to 4A, which is the new renter discovers the bug. Now, I bet y'all didn't know this, but in many/most jurisdictions, this is illegal. You're copying RM since he's older. True. Rare waifu W. Rare waifu logic W. Best type is only Steel. I can relate. Bug and Steel are my favorite types. Really mad. So instead of being Bug and Steel brothers, he's going to accuse me of copying his style. Maybe he's destined to be a VTuber. This cat girl also has an Ahoge. She's copying me. That's Noodle right now. In 4B, you know, after 4B, that doesn't... Yeah, it doesn't. Doesn't find bug. So in 5A, law enforcement shows up. In most places, it is a crime to put cameras, even if they're overt. It is a crime to put inward-facing cameras and microphones in rental property, especially in the places that bad guys are going to put them, which is the bathroom and the bedroom. Those have extra penalties, or it's illegal in more jurisdictions than just a camera that happens to be inside the home. A camera that is in a bathroom or a place where one could be expected to be disrobed is almost always illegal. So now they're calling the cops because they found the bugs, and now you're in trouble because you weren't checking. And now you have to prove that you didn't put that there and somebody else did, essentially. That's the position you're in that situation. That's bad. Don't be that property owner. In 5B, the content from the undiscovered bug is published. So it's like 5A, but with more monetary and punitive damage on the line. Because if they discover that that content was published, they're obviously going to recognize where that footage is from, and at that point, law enforcement enters the picture. These are bad places to be. Just because you are not actively putting bugs on your own property does not mean, as a property owner or manager, that you should not be sweeping the property for bugs between renters. This is often viewed as a renter problem only. It is not. This is also an issue for property owners. The renter vulnerabilities are obvious. Obviously, I'm not a fan of protecting these people from a personal standpoint, but let's say you're having an affair that gets discovered. This is really bad if you're brass in the military. Cough, cough, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Let's say it's just a normal intimate encounter. With like your wife or something, you know, somebody you're supposed to be with, that goes to the internet. You might be on a business trip, discussing things like strategy, trade secrets, and other sensitive information. You might be found out for liking a Pokemon type that is not Steel. Like you might be a fan of the fighting type. That could be bad for you if that gets out. You could be a fan of the bug type. That could like ruin your career. Oh yeah, the monkey was streaking too. I feel like I covered that. I feel like I mentioned that. But no, Inaka was also streaking, so we've got streakers in chat today. Fan of the fairy type? Oh, it's so over for you if they catch you saying that on camera. All right. So what are some realistic things you can do? Because one of the things you'll be taught to do actually, let's create a whole nother slide for this. So like common bad advice. And I would say this is bad advice because it requires expertise and competence. Fuck you mean fighting type's an issue? What I mean is I'm trying to piss off chat by mentioning their favorite types. You're a big fan of Typhlosion? Oh. Straight to jail. Alright, so the reason I call this bad advice is because it requires a level of expertise. It requires packing extra tools a lot of the time. Oh, my handwriting's atrocious today. Normally, I would correct that. But I don't care today. At least it isn't Drifloon. Drifloon's my favorite. Cancelled. Dragonite, your favorite? Oh, himbo lover. We've got a himbo lover in chat. You wouldn't want that getting out. The Drifloon feeds the Phantumps, and that's why he's my favorite. Or is otherwise not accessible to the average person. Let me go over an example of one of these, which is forward-looking infrared. People recommend this because it is extremely effective. Any device that is recording the room, transmitting data, storing data, or doing processing will emit a strange heat signature compared to its surroundings most of the time. And that makes FLIR very effective at discovering surveillance devices. It's also ridiculously expensive and can be bulky. Another one of these is lol Gestu Wi-Fi multi-spectral scanning. Which that's where the expertise comes from. Like, if somebody handed you a black box Wi-Fi multispectral scanner that they put together themselves and configured for you, you would still require some sort of expertise to read and interpret the results. So that's something that's thrown out at there. Another thing is to just look, bro. Just look for stuff that's out of place, bro. And that can be good advice, but it might require memorizing and training yourself to find things that look out of place or are odd. So what should you be doing as, like, an average person? Average person techniques. All right, so you can use your smartphone. Does you or anyone in your party have an iPhone? And I focus on the iPhone specifically because this varies by Android model, but this does not vary by iPhone model. iPhones because of the way they track faces and whatnot, do not filter out infrared from their cameras. So if you point your iPhone at an IR emitting light source, your camera will see that. That will light the fuck up. So what you can do is you can turn out the lights, and since the devices that you're probably most worried about are devices that are, of course, capable of recording in the dark, what they're going to do is when they detect that the lights have gone out, they're going to start emitting IR, because that's how they see in the dark. And then your iPhone will be able to see that, and it will be plain as day that there is an IR source lighting up the room for recording. There are Android phones that do this. Older flip phones actually do this. Blocking IR is actually something that like new phones do. All old phones with cameras in them, and when I say old, I mean like really old, like the original Razr old. Their cameras had, yeah, so you're looking through the camera, yeah. You're using the camera app to basically sweep the room when the lights are out. Again, some Androids will have this. You can test this by having somebody grab any remote controls you may have, like for TVs and stuff, and then turn out the lights, and then look through the camera app of the phone and have them push buttons on the remote. And if the camera is not filtering out IR, you will see the IR pulses from the remote control. That's a quick and easy way to test that sort of thing if you have some sort of remote for some sort of device somewhere. If you personally own cameras that can see in the dark, you can test whatever model of phone you have the same way. It will be obvious that there will be a basically floodlight IR source coming from exactly where you expect it. Basically, if you know the location of a camera that can see in the dark, you can visit that location at night, look at it with your cell phone, and see if you see the IR floodlight to know whether or not, and you could probably just Google it, but the kind of person I am, I like to physically test these things and make sure, because there's always some sort of gotcha sometime. I like to make sure that the phone that I have isn't some snowflake phone that, while it was part of this model run, somehow does not have the ability. Yeah, just test it. Just test it yourself. There should be plenty of sources available for you to do that. Literally anything that can supposedly see in the dark. You know somebody that owns a Tesla. They have cameras all over the car body that can see in the dark. There will be IR coming from them if they're turned on. You know, use your imagination, get creative. But what you can do is you can black out the location, turn the lights out, and these IR emitters will turn on because they're trying to see you in the dark. And I know I said this was bad advice, but it's also one of the few things that everybody can do. Which is just look, bro. Look for things that are out of place. Like an extra clock that's in a weird position. So, I think one of the best ways to do this is like lay down on the bed and then look at how the room is decorated. Because the cameras are going to be pointed at you, and that might make some things in the room while you're in the place where the cameras are probably pointed start looking really odd and out of place. Check in indoor potted plants. Look at any clocks on the wall. Like who is actually using clocks on the wall in this day and age? You can look for lights blinking. Again, turn out the lights. You can look for lights blinking from sources that they shouldn't be blinking from. A lot of these things will actually have indicator lights to indicate that they're turned on. They'll flash blue or something every so often. Not all of them will, but a lot will. You can look for camera peepholes, because like at some level these things have to be, there has to be some amount of visual transmission through the medium. So there's going to be some sort of black spot one-way mirror or something, because like how do they hide cameras normally? Well, they put the lens behind like a dark piece of glass, but it still has to be a piece of glass, and that's not gonna look right. If you one of the things is to check the outlets. No one's leaving chargers, so we're gonna put this up there. If there's a charger in the outlet, either the person before you lost it, or the homeowner put it there on purpose for some reason. The chance that this is where the camera / microphone in is very high. If you find something plugged into outlets that just shouldn't be, like they don't belong to you. So look for chargers for phones and things like that that are already pre-plugged into the outlets. Yeah, they can get so tiny now though, but they do need visual transmission. Even a pinhole camera is still a pinhole. There's no reason for you to have a pinhole in a phone charger. And yes, that does mean you're going to have to look with your eyeballs, and you're going to have to do an intentional top to bottom, like methodical scan of the room. But there's some low-hanging fruit here, like with chargers plugged into outlets, because that's just out of place anyway. Nothing plugged, no phone charger plugged into those outlets when you arrive belongs to you. So they just need to be, I wouldn't even put them in the trash. I would eject them from the house. They go away. So yeah, look for stuff like that. At the end of the day, you're going to have to make a decision on whether or not you care about audio only or not audio only, video only, or both video and audio surveillance. Pull them out and stick them in a black bag and get rid of them. I mean, I would just find an exterior trash receptacle and put them in there. I wouldn't even bag them up. I'd just toss them. You can also look for charging cables in the same vein. You can look for charging cables. Look for stuff that is plugged into the outlets, like corded, that normally isn't powered. Watch the outlets. Show the camera your whole ass before getting rid of them. I think that might defeat the purpose, Omni. Also welcome in. But yeah, when you're sweeping for these kind of bugs, if you're only worried about cameras, take a tiny drill bit and drill into a shelf and put a camera in there. Yeah, but it's going to have a hole in it. You're not going to perfectly match the grain with another piece of wood. We hate Twitch. We hate Twitch for lacks of notifications. But, like, you're going to have a gap in whatever shelf that is. But yes, you could do that. But what you really gotta wonder is, like, if you don't care so much about the audio, but who looks at the shelf itself? Exactly, which is why I'm teaching you these things. That's exactly why we're going over this, because some people really will go through low-hanging fruit. But I will also say that people drilling holes and stuff is actually not very common. The vast majority of this stuff is going to be purchased directly from Amazon. That's actually how most like professional spies also do it. They just get their cheap gear from whatever is available on Amazon. So you're looking for prepackaged solutions that are either taped to something or placed in, like I said, really watch out for potted plants. If you're a property owner, stop using potted plants. Yeah, just look for that shit. Does anyone know how to do the first plane mirror test? The music is finally looped. Yeah. Does anybody know about the first plane mirror test? Basically, a mirror that is not suspicious. If you put an object directly against it, there should be a gap between the object and its reflection. That's called a second surface mirror. It's the most common type of domestic mirror. That's where you have the glass in front of a reflective surface. If you put an object against a mirror and it touches its reflection, that is a first surface reflective mirror, and that means there is potentially stuff behind that mirror. And not guaranteed, but it means that it is possible instead of not possible. A second plane reflective mirror is much harder to put stuff behind in ways that is not just totally completely obvious. So yeah. Look for first plane mirrors. What do you do if you find something? A lot of people have this reaction where they know what the next step is, but they get anxious and they refuse to do it. The next step here is always call the police. That is always the next step here. This is a law enforcement issue at this point. Somebody has put a surveillance device. Yeah, there's a lot of people who know this that don't do it. Not just in this situation, but in many situations, like when I was in that mass shooting. When I was in that mass shooting, and the mass shooting alarm was going off, and there was no notification about a test or anything, and I go upstairs, and there's people, like, milling around doors going, is it real? And I'm like, yes, you asshole, get in there. Get in that room and, you know, hunker down. Refusing to accept the reality of your situation is probably it is the most common case of freezing. That's why people freeze, is they refuse to accept the position that they're in. They'll often look to an authority figure to confirm the position they're obviously in. So they'll find a bug in the hotel or the B&B or whatever, and they'll start rationalizing why it might be a legit thing or something, instead of being like, well, that's against the law, time to call the police and file a report. And then also notify the service provider. Because if you're at a B&B, like, it's time to make alternate accommodations or get a refund or whatever. I will definitely be sweeping for bugs in the near future. In the United States, yes. Airbnb has a corporate policy about not doing it as a CYA thing, but every jurisdiction I know about, let's reverse that. I do not know of a jurisdiction where this is not the case, where it is not a call law enforcement violation of the law in the United States. And I would say basically in every like Western civilized country. Obviously, Google like your local laws or the laws in the jurisdiction you plan on traveling to, but you can assume this is illegal. And if it's not, the cops will just tell you to go pound sand, honestly. You call the cops and they'll be like, hey, that's not illegal here. And that'll be the end of it. So, call the police anyway. Call the police anyway, because the worst that's going to happen is they're going to be like, hey, that's actually legal here. Sorry, pal. Yeah, hidden camera in bedroom, bathroom should definitely be illegal. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, check that out before you travel. Because if you magically find the unicorn jurisdiction where that's not illegal, just don't go there. Just simply don't go there and find somewhere else to vacation. I promise you, there's going to be a lot of popular spots where it's just straight up fucking illegal. The vast majority of them. I don't know a place where it isn't. Like, even if you're in a third world shithole, if you're in a place that gets a lot of tourism, it's probably locally illegal. Because if it were legal, and word got out that it was just straight up legal and you could do nothing about it, people wouldn't go there. Like, this is a self-policing kind of thing. So I would assume it's illegal. Clicking dumb things. Checking my messages. So yeah, the steps to take if you find something are much simpler than the steps for discovering the thing. If someone wants to see my ding, they can. Look, as I say with any security practice, the effort you put into it should be directly related to the amount you care about it. If you're Omni and you don't care if they see your bare ass and you're like, well, that's actually unfortunate for them and not me. Okay, fine. If that's your attitude, whatever. But like I frequently say, or that I want to say more often than I do, I would rather that be a choice on your end rather than an accident that happens to you. That makes sense? This should be a choice you willingly make, not something that catches you by surprise. But yeah, what you do about this is much, much simpler than discovering that it's a thing. Call the police. Call local law enforcement. That's the default action. And then notify the service provider. By the way, look at service provider toss, or even just Google service provider policy on hidden cameras. And it should tell you real quick whether or not the service provider has a policy on that. And if they don't, do not use that service provider. Because what happens for like Airbnb if you find one of these is like that's an automatic refund trigger. That's a trigger for automatic actions. Because of Airbnb's policies. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure exactly what's triggered. But I do know that it does trigger some automatic actions on Airbnb's end, and one of them is full or partial refund, relocation, etc. That sort of thing. What else did I want to go over today? Let's see. More seagull pictures. You know, doing stuff for my channels, making my streams more fun and interactive. We sort of went over investigator ethics, but not really. Oh! There was a little kind of a funny story while my kids were eating. The smallest essentially said, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm paraphrasing a lot, "Mom, my sister is eating me." So that was funny. Your bug ukulele apology video, not happening. I will never apologize for trashing the bug type. What are you about to yak on? Waifu looks like she's about to throw up. What is it, Curious? What about the bucket?
You said bugs.
Oh, you thought you heard bucket. Okay. Same. Anyway. What's the cough about? I was distracted by waifu nearly throwing up. Or making throw up motions slash sounds. Waifu, you know that if you throw up within earshot of my microphone, that can get me a mandatory vacation from Twitch as well. Oh, my children. I mean, that's probably proof that they are mine, right? There's no dragon bug Pokemon, right? I think Genesect, maybe? But I think that's just bug, isn't it? There should be a dragon bug. We should get a dragon bug Pokemon. What's going to be great about the dragon bug legendary is it's going to be like this awfully gimmicky thing in every way that makes everyone hate it. So the only bug dragon type we will ever get will tell Game Freak never to make another one because it's so bad and no one likes it. Flygon should be bug. I agree. I agree that Flygon should be bug. Dragon ground my ass. Alright. It's 9:35. Do we wrap up stream or do we watch a USCSB video? Which one is it, chat? Should I make a poll? Should I make a poll on that? I think I will. Exclamation mark fish. Sylph caught a chub. Where? There it is. We're gonna do that. So I can work on this side and put this away. "9:30, but it's not a school night, Mom." My children go to bed at 8:30. Demon. There is literally one vote in the poll. You've got about 30 seconds. And I misspelled video with a transposition error.
I'm the only voter.
Nope, now there's 4 votes. All for the same thing. Have we done hot work lately? Did we do... How will the kids have time to watch VTubers if they sleep so early? Five for you. Who is the wrap it up? Was that the monkey? Let's see, we got combustible dust, refinery safety. Ooh, let's do refinery safety. Let's do refinery safety. And the reason I'm not transitioned over yet is because this isn't my traditional browser setup, and I don't even know the blowout in Oklahoma. That one's horrifying. That one's horrifying, and I don't think we've watched that one yet. So I'm gonna see if this one makes noise y'all can hear. I don't think it is. I might have to add an application capture. Hold on. Y'all can't hear that, right? I'm gonna turn off Spotify. Oh, you can? Okay. That simplifies some things. We're gonna go to theater mode. How loud was it? Oh, we can't. God damn it. You got me. You got me. You got me again, Flash. Let's see. Let's just change this to that one.
The Pryor Trust gas well in Pittsburgh County, Oklahoma. The well was operated by Red Mountain Operating, LLC, which contracted the Patterson UTI Drilling Company to drill the well. In order to change a drill bit, crew members removed the drill pipe from the...
I'm going to wait a few seconds for that to not be going at all, and then pull it down by 25 dB.
Well.
How is it now?
Approximately 3.5 hours later, a blowout and rig fire occurred, killing 5 workers.
Industry best practices recommend having two
We're
protective
peaking it
barriers in
too
place
quiet.
at all times during drilling operations. But our investigation into the incident at the Pryor Trust well found that both of those barriers failed. The safety management system utilized at the well was simply not effective.
Okay. All right, guys. All right. One more time. We're going to start this over. We're going to watch it together. Grab your grab your popcorn and get ready to learn how people died in horrible ways because safety was completely ignored at multiple levels. Jork corn.
January 22nd, 2018. The Pryor Trust gas well in Pittsburgh County, Oklahoma. The well was operated by Red Mountain Operating, LLC, which contracted the Patterson UTI Drilling Company to drill the well.
They have UTIs.
In order to change a drill bit, crew members removed the drill pipe from the well. Approximately 3.5 hours later, a blowout and rig fire occurred, killing 5 workers.
Oh, Omni's
Industry
here.
best
I'm sure he'll
practices
love to
recommend
hear
having
about how
two
this
protective
fire
barriers
started.
in
I'm sure
place
that won't
at all
trigger him at
times
all.
during drilling operations. But our investigation into the incident at the Pryor Trust well found that both of those barriers failed. The safety management system utilized at the well was simply not effective, and the result was a catastrophic blowout and fire.
This one's a little longer at 21 minutes. So, like, but I think it's really interesting.
The
because
prior
of
trussed gas
how
well
much
was
goes wrong
comprised of
here.
vertical and horizontal sections being drilled to reach underground natural gas in the Woodford Geological Formation. During drilling, a diesel oil-based liquid called mud is pumped down through the drill pipe.
And I also want to say, and I say this almost every time I watch USCSB videos on stream, I am usually almost nothing my tax money goes to is worth what I am personally contributing to it. USCSB reports and videos are not one of those things. I love these. They can have like twice the taxes they're getting. I don't fucking care. These guys kick ass.
And back up through the area of the well outside of the drill pipe, called the annulus. When mud returns to the surface, it includes rock cuttings
How's
from
your
the bottom of
annulus
the
feeling,
well.
chat?
Mud, however, has another important function. It is designed to add pressure to the well so that gas within the exposed geological formation is unable to enter the well during
Brain
drilling.
cell.
If that happens, and the gas is not detected, it can lead.
Chat, if you don't keep enough pressure in your annulus, you're going to have gas. And you might have a dangerous blowout.
To a dangerous blowout. On January 21st, 2018, Patterson crew members had been drilling the well for 10 days under the supervision of 2 contracted representatives from Red Mountain. They were drilling the horizontal section of the well. That morning, a crew member called a mud logger.
A 21-year-old or 17-year-old came up with all the names for this shit. So, to make sure you have enough pressure in your annulus to prevent a blowout, you need to have a guy called a mud logger looking at all the mud coming out of the pipe.
Studied the rocks returning to the surface and found they were different than expected. He believed the drill pipe had inadvertently entered a different geological formation where Red Mountain did not intend to drill. Shortly after, gas started to escape from mud returning to the surface. The gas caused mud to spit out of equipment near the well and cover a portion of the rig.
This is a great
Around
animation.
11 a.m., the drilling crew adjusted piping so that mud returning from the well was routed to a piece of equipment called a mud gas separator that removed the gas from the mud. The separated gas was then routed to a flare to safely burn it. The size of the flare indicated that there was a significant amount of gas in the mud and that the well had likely become underbalanced.
Has anybody seen National Lampoon's Senior Trip? Because this is reminding me of the Forever Flame scene.
Meaning that pressure from the mud was not keeping gas out of the well as intended. The crew...
Why aren't they shutting it down? Up till this point, this is kind of a normal thing to run into. But the holy shit, there's a lot of gas in there, size of the flare should have started action. Like, the whole reason they're rerouting the piping to this system is because this is normal and they know to reroute piping to it.
Continued drilling underbalanced until 3:30 p.m. when they stopped because the drill bit had become worn and needed to be replaced. The crew first circulated the well for 3 hours by pumping mud down the drill pipe and up the annulus. The flare continued while the well was circulating, an indication that the well remained underbalanced. While circulating, the Red Mountain representatives discussed how to remove the drill pipe from the well in order to replace the drill bit. The process to remove a drill pipe is called tripping. During any tripping operation, mud is pumped into the well to replace the volume of drill pipe being removed, which prevents gas from flowing into the well. In this case, the Red Mountain representatives decided to use tripping method called calculated fill, which involved periodically pumping a calculated... Red Mountain representatives decided to use a tripping method called
calculated fill. And the reason it's called calculated fill is because it's not automatically tracked fill, and that's about to become an important point here.
Called calculated fill, which involved periodically pumping a calculated amount of mud into the well as the drill pipe was removed. They believed this method would keep the well contained if gas entered during the operation. But it was not a standard tripping method during normal drilling, so no one on the Patterson crew had performed it before, and they had no written procedure.
Deviation from normal standards without a written procedure. Shit like this is why I have a cushy job.
The crew started removing the drill pipe at 6:47 p.m. The CSB found that while tripping the drill pipe from the horizontal section of the well, not enough mud was pumped and gas entered the well. The driller, who was controlling the operation from inside a building on the rig called the driller's cabin, did not see the discrepancy. That is because he had not been sufficiently trained on a new electronic version of a trip sheet.
So, like, this is normal enough that they have things called trip sheets to check for it. Like, this is a normal problem. I want to reiterate that. Usually, USCSB videos are very good at pointing out things that are like, hey, this was a problem, but this is also encountered frequently and normal. And there are policies, procedures, and plans throughout the industry to deal with this. Another thing I want to point out is they're saying, oh, this guy wasn't trained on this system. And I've seen in a lot of places where when you reduce staff, the staff take on a there's no time for training mentality because there literally isn't, because you understaffed them and the job literally falls apart if anyone takes a break long enough to accomplish training in the first place. I suspect that's what happened here. I can't say for sure.
Which is a form used to monitor and calculate whether a well is taking the proper amount of mud during tripping. As a result, he was unable to see that a significant amount of gas continued to enter or expand within the well, causing pressure in the well to increase and mud to backflow into a tank at the surface called the trip tank. In fact, pressure at the surface of the well had increased so much that the centrifugal pump the crew was using was no longer able to pump mud against the pressure of the well. Red Mountain's representatives decided to switch to higher pressure pumps, called mud pumps, to try to force mud into the well. They believed that the pressure applied by the new pumps would...
So they noticed that the pumps were not adequate, and they switched to different, bigger pumps. It's not all down to money, Curious. You're about to see the not money parts. There are not money parts involved
push
in this.
Any gas out of the well. But by the time the drill bit reached the top of the curve in the well, the CSB found that, unknown to drilling crew members, 20 barrels of gas had entered or expanded within the well. At that time, the drilling crew performed a 45-second flow check to see if...
You're right, Spicy. That would just increase the pressure. Moving on.
Gas was flowing in the well. The crew did not observe any flow of gas and believed the well to be stable, but the CSB determined that the flow check was inadequate. At 11 p.m., the drilling crew again circulated the well. While circulating, the rig's mud pits, which are tanks used to hold mud at the surface and are equipped with level sensors, gained 14 barrels of mud when they should have remained stable. This meant that the well gained approximately 14 barrels of gas, which caused the mud to escape at the surface. But the night shift driller had turned off the alarm system before the tripping operation.
He turned off the alarms. How many CSB videos have we watched where, but the alarms had been turned off because they were annoying?
No alarm sounded, so the large gain went unnoticed. Red Mountain's representatives then...
It is very common, Kiris. It is very common to turn alarms off. And this is something we're taught in, when we're being trained as security professionals, or at least CISSPs are, is that one of the things you have to watch out for is alarm fatigue. if your alarm system has too many alarms, like this is why we use state-based workflows now, so that the only alarms you're getting are relevant to the operations that you're currently performing, and you're not getting an alarm for a thing that is normal for the thing that you are doing, but is not normal in a different situation. Before state-based alarms, that's what would happen. Like, you look at the Chernobyl show, and they've got alarm. If you'll notice, they've got things flashing everywhere all the time, and that's because in older industrial sensors, it's just the sensor is if threshold, make blinky or make noise. And sometimes you're doing an operation where those thresholds are crossed on purpose, and you've got to keep track of in your head whether or not this alarm is bad in this situation or not bad in this situation. And it tends to result in there being, your brain is a very good signal to noise ratio processor. And if you give it too much signal, it recognizes that as noise and starts ignoring it. Yeah, middle schooler level alarms. Yeah, exactly. We are taught not to do this. We are taught that if an alarm goes off, it means action always needs to be taken if the alarm goes off. More or less. That's like simplified to the point of being wrong, but it's more right than it's wrong.
Then decided to pump a weighted volume of mud called a pill into the well, meant to generate enough pressure to prevent gas from entering the well. But a Patterson drilling crew member misheard Red Mountain's instructions over the radio, and they accidentally added lost circulation material to the pill. This material is designed to clog breaches in the well and is not intended to be in weighted pills. Although the mistake was discovered, the pill containing the lost circulation material was pumped down to the bottom of the drill pipe, clogging it. By 1:12 a.m. on January 22nd, the crew started to remove the drill pipe from the vertical section of the well, this time using the typical industry tripping method called continuous fill, where mud is pumped continuously into the well.
So notice where they are on the diagram of like the relative length of the pipe. This is where they started using the industry approved method. Right up here. Everything below that was using calculated fill, which was not industry standard at the time of the accident.
As the drill pipe is removed. But because the drill pipe was clogged, the mud was not freely draining into the well. The crew attempted to pump a weighted slug of mud into the drill pipe to push the clogged mud out. But this was not.
When you have a clogged toilet and you're like, well, what if somebody else poops in it to shove the clogged poop out? That's what they're doing.
Not successful. With the drill pipe plugged, the drilling crew had to trip wet, meaning mud was in the pipe sections being removed at the surface.
Keep in mind, although they're not pointing it out, they have specialized equipment for tripping wet because it is common.
The drilling crew used what is known as a mud bucket to collect the mud from the drill pipe, which they drained into the trip tank. But the trip tank was also used to pump mud into the well during tripping. So the trip tank volume started to fluctuate as mud was pumped out to the well and drained in from the drill pipe.
Bucket.
The fluctuations confused crew members, and they did not realize that while the drill pipe was removed from the vertical section, the well gained another 23 barrels of gas. When the bottom hole assembly, which is equipment at the end,
the bottom hole assembly. Do I even have to keep going?
Of the drill pipe that includes the drill bit was near the top of the well, the crew finally removed the plugged part of the drill pipe. For the next hour, they tried to clear the clog. But at that time, and during a subsequent shift change, the well was still flowing, gaining another 31 barrels of gas and pushing more mud into the trip tank. No one saw the gain. At 6:10 a.m., the crew lifted the bottom hole assembly.
All right. Keep in mind, like, when this is, like, nobody noticed the gain. It was 4 to 6 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday.
assembly out of the well and closed the blind rams on the blowout preventer. They prepared a new bottom hole assembly for testing. When it was ready, a drilling crew member checked a pressure gauge on the rig floor to see if it showed pressure in the well, a safety precaution used before opening the blowout preventer. The pressure gauge showed no pressure. But at 7:57 a.m.
Okay, so I feel like they gloss over that. Obviously, there is pressure in the well. So he checked his safety equipment. It wasn't working. Like, as unsafe and like, dude, why could you do that? How, this is so obvious. Like, this is hindsight. This is about the accident. Almost all accidents like this require 5 to 6 simultaneous failures and happenstance things to happen at the same time.
When the blind rams were reopened so the new bottom hole assembly could be lowered into the well, 5 barrels of mud surged to the mud pits. At that time, a crew member pulled away the steel plate that had been covering the hole in the rig floor over the well. He waved over another worker who saw mud bubbling in the well, a sign that there was a significant amount of gas in the mud. That worker later told the CSB that he does not know if the mud bubbling was communicated to the driller. Between 7:57 a.m. and 8:35 a.m., while the drilling crew was testing the new...
So like all your friends are dead. Did anybody communicate the bubbling you saw of gas in the drill, in the blind shear ram assembly to the driller?
New bottom hole assembly?
Like I said, not all of these accidents are money things.
The mud pits gained another 102 barrels of mud, a very large volume. This significant gain likely displayed on the driller's data screen. But the day shift driller also chose to turn off the alarm system, and it is unknown if the driller saw this dangerous gain.
They both turned off the alarms.
At 8:35, with testing complete, the bottom hole assembly was removed from the well, and the mud pits gained another 12 barrels of mud, for a total influx of 207 barrels of gas into the well from the start of the tripping operation. A crew member saw mud flowing up out of the open blowout preventer stack. The mud was shooting up steadily, getting closer to the rig floor. The crew member told the driller, and the driller responded, that he was going to close the blind rams, but he never made it. Seconds later, mud blew upwards out of the well in what is known as a blowout. 2 workers on the rig floor ran into the driller's cabin, where 3 other workers were already located. The gas and mud then ignited, causing a massive fire. All 5 people in the driller's cabin were killed. The blowout continued for hours until a well control services company was able to shut in the well around 4 p.m. During its investigation,
They cooked in there. They basically entered an oven.
the CSB found data indicating that on the evening prior to the blowout, the night shift driller turned off the entire...
Well, yeah, like inside of this mud is literally like propane, natural gas, obviously other petroleum raw products. It finds an ignition source very quickly and then it just goes up.
alarm system. Data also indicates that the day shift driller briefly turned on the alarm system, but then quickly turned it off again on the day of the incident. Other than that short period, the alarm system was off for 14 hours, leading to the blowout.
Let me translate that for you. Turned on the alarm system, saw everything was screaming, went, "That's annoying," and turned it off.
We were not able to conclusively determine why the drillers turned the alarm system off. A possible reason why they did is that the alarms were perceived as a nuisance or an annoyance. In fact, we found that had the alarm system been on, most of the alarms that would have activated during the 14 hours leading up to the incident likely would have been irrelevant to detecting the problems in the well.
Oh wait, let's hear that problem again. I talked over that.
14 hours of annoyance. In fact, we found that had the alarm system been on,
This is exculpatory of the drillers. If the system had been on, most of the alarms that would have activated were not relevant.
During the 14 hours leading up to the incident likely would have been irrelevant to detecting the problems in the well.
For an alarm system to be effective, it must be configured so that the driller only receives alerts to conditions that require attention.
Oh, look, it's
but
that
the
thing
CSB
RM
found
said.
that Patterson did not develop guidance to help drillers set the alarm system for the various operations performed on the rig, such as drilling, tripping, and circulating. Instead, to manage the alarm rate, both drillers apparently elected to simply turn off the alarm system.
We concluded that what's called a state-based alarm strategy is one way to solve this issue. For example, on a drilling rig, there could be different active alarms for each operation, such as drilling, tripping, and circulating, so that alarms critical to a certain operation do not become a nuisance when operating in a different state where those alarms are not needed.
Although there is a large body of...
While that is true, it is my training that made me come to those conclusions. I actually didn't remember that part.
Guidance and recommendations on the design of alarm systems for hazardous operations. None are specifically targeted for the drilling industry. As a result,
Ain't that. I forgot that too. Hold up.
Give guidance and recommendations on the design of alarm systems for hazardous operations. None are specifically targeted for the drilling industry. As a result, the CSB made a recommendation to the American Petroleum Institute to develop a standard on alarm management, specifically for the drilling industry, that addresses drilling's unique dynamic environment and provides guidance on implementing a state-based alarm system for different operating modes.
When the blowout started, 2 crew members on the rig floor ran inside the driller's cabin. 3 other crew members were already in the driller's cabin, and all 5 workers were killed.
It is unknown how long the victims remained alive inside the driller's cabin, but they had no viable escape routes. There were 2 exit doors from the driller's cabin, but both of those exit doors were blocked by flames after the gas and mud ignited. The CSB concluded that had the fire rating of the driller's cabin been ensured for a minimum time, with emergency escape options from the floor or from the back wall, there could have been a better chance for the workers inside to have survived this incident. Stan Christman is a drilling expert who consulted with the CSB on the prior trust investigation.
On a drilling rig, the operations are controlled from the driller's cabin by the key man, the driller. And he has a crew that works for him on the rig floor. The driller's cabin is located right next to the rig floor. He can see, talk over radio, even directly to the crew and get things done. Having the driller's cabin near the rig floor puts it closer to the hazards, and that is things happening on the floor, typically from the well. And these hazards are things that we could probably think further about. How do we improve the reliability and safety of these cabins for these unusual events?
Although there are best practices within the chemical industry for the location and design of control rooms, there is no guidance specific to drilling. As a result, the CSB made a recommendation to the American Petroleum Institute to develop guidance addressing the protection of onshore rig workers from fire and explosion hazards in the event of a blowout. The guidance will specifically address...
Keep in mind that a lot of the chemical industry has guidance for these things. The answer is also robots. You're right, Omni. A lot of the chemical industry that has guidance for these things are getting the chemicals they work with from wells like these.
Address the design.
Like they're literally, they have the chemicals. They're piping the chemicals out of the earth. And that's where the regulated industries for handling the chemicals, you're getting their guidance. This is the raw material for those places.
And location of the driller's cabin, and establish minimum required evacuation methods from various locations on the rig. Flow checks are a safety-critical operation used to determine if gas or other formation fluids have entered a well, which could lead to a blowout. Patterson policies required flow checks to be performed at various times during the tripping operation. But the CSB found that of the 27 flow checks that were required by Patterson during the drilling of this well and the previous well, only 2 were performed, and those were inadequate.
2 out of 27, not
there was a culture on
bad.
this rig that accepted the non-performance of flow checks. Performing flow checks during the tripping operation, as required by Patterson, could have identified that the well was flowing and could have prevented the blowout.
The CSB found that the cause of the blowout
Excellent
and rig
animation,
fire
by the
was
way.
the failure of both barriers that should have been in place during the operations leading to the blowout. Those 2 barriers were the primary prevention barrier, hydrostatic pressure produced by drilling mud, and the secondary mitigation barrier, human detection of gas entering the well and activation of the blowout preventer. When the well became underbalanced on January 21st, the primary protective barrier was lost, but work was not stopped so that the barrier could be reestablished by increasing the weight of mud, and no analysis on the loss of the barrier was performed.
We learned that Red Mountain had developed what they called a drilling prognosis, which is a type of well plan. But that plan did not specify what barriers were required or how to identify if a barrier was lost. And we found that development of a more comprehensive plan, such as...
I'm also going to say that the people who typically work at places like these, they tend to be one of 2 ways. They tend to either have a robust safety culture or none at all.
what's known as the Well Construction Interface document, which is used more widely.
And why that's relevant is that all the workers at a location like this have no safety culture. It literally does not matter what your rules and regulations are. They're not going to be followed, and they won't be effective.
In offshore drilling was not required.
In fact, there are minimal federal regulations governing the safety of onshore oil and gas drilling operations. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration's Process Safety Management, or PSM standard, which would require a hazard analysis of the operation, does not apply to drilling. No other OSHA standard specifically covers drilling, and no other federal regulatory body oversees the safety of onshore drilling operations. With no federal safety standards for oil and gas drilling companies are governed by a patchwork of individual state laws. During its investigation, the CSB determined that the laws in Oklahoma, where the incident occurred, are not focused on safety, and instead...
I would actually love to have Nero in here crashing out about, no shit, Sherlock, it's fucking Oklahoma. But I'm sure Omni can do that too.
stressed maximizing production and eliminating the loss of hydrocarbons.
The CSB believes more focused and specialized regulatory coverage, like the OSHA PSM standard for the chemical industry, is needed to better control the hazards.
And while I agree with that, we saw with like the combustible dust videos and like the synthetic quartz factory, that even when those standards are in place and insurance companies show up to inspect these places and say like, hey, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, they still don't. Like, you've got to address that too. Like, especially during both combustible dust things that we watched and the quartz accident, the quartz plant accident. Nobody seemed to have the authority the way that you have in food service to just say, you are fucking closed until this is fixed. Which is what happens to food service industry that gets inspected and fails. It's just like, okay, you are fucking closed until you fix this to our satisfaction. And in like the dust and quartz videos, it seemed like no one had the power to do that.
Inherent to drilling. With the requirement for a more effective safety management system, drilling companies can avoid incidents in a proactive manner, protecting both their workers and the environment.
As a result, the CSB made recommendations to OSHA to either apply the PSM standard to drilling of oil and gas wells or develop a new standard with a safety management system framework similar to PSM that applies only to the drilling of onshore oil and gas wells. To prevent similar blowouts, drilling contractors and operators should develop a well construction interface document, bridging the operators and drilling contractors' safety systems and providing a barrier plan, including how to monitor barriers and how to respond if a barrier is compromised. Create procedures for operations, including
the rest
prepping.
of this is just saying stuff like that, so we can stop that here. Is there anybody to raid? Is there a worthy raid target right now? Switch him back to collapse this shit. I don't. Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody. We'll just call it there, guys. That was fun. Yay! We learned about the blowout and the blowout oven. Hooray! Aren't we better off for that? Hassan isn't live, Sag. Aren't we better off for that? You can raid me anytime. Alright, but do you have your blowout preventer? That's a critical safety device. Maybe next time we'll do the USCSB video on Deepwater Horizon, cause that one is comedy. That one is comedy. Nero's not here, so I have to say some gay stuff. I appreciate you filling in for Nero, but yeah, we're gonna go.